The Vietnam War was a crucible, forging indelible marks on those who experienced its horrors. But beyond the battlefield, a sinister narrative emerged, one that implicated returning soldiers in a shocking scheme, smuggling heroin in the coffins of their fallen comrades. This chilling claim, popularized by Harlem drug lord Frank Lucas, painted a picture of widespread corruption and moral decay. Lucas's story, later immortalized in the film American Gangster, alleged that he used military aircraft to transport heroin from Southeast Asia, concealing the drugs in coffins. While Lucas's tale captivated the public imagination, it has been widely disputed by historians and law enforcement officials. No credible evidence supports his claims of a cadaver connection. The logistics of such an operation, given the military's strict protocols for handling deceased personnel, make the story highly implausible. The lack of evidence, however, did little to quell the spread of this sensational myth. The image of heroin-laden coffins returning from the battlefields of Vietnam resonated with a nation grappling with the war's moral ambiguities and the societal anxieties of the time. It tapped into deep fears about the war's corrupting influence and the hidden costs of conflict. The cadaver connection narrative, while ultimately a myth, highlights the power of storytelling and its potential to shape our understanding of historical events. It serves as a stark reminder of the need for critical analysis and the importance of separating fact from fiction, particularly when dealing with complex and sensitive issues like the Vietnam War. While the image of heroin-filled coffins is a fabrication, drug use, particularly heroin, was a significant issue among US soldiers in Vietnam. The pervasiveness of the drug, readily available and cheaply obtained, created a crisis within the ranks. Soldiers, grappling with the trauma of combat, the pressures of a relentless war, and the alienation of a foreign land, turned to heroin as a means of escape. Statistics paint a grim picture of the situation. By some estimates, heroin use among US soldiers in Vietnam reached unprecedented levels. The easy access to the drug, coupled with the lack of effective prevention and treatment programs, exacerbated the problem. The consequences were devastating, impacting the soldiers' physical and mental well-being, their combat readiness, and their lives after the war. The reasons behind the high rates of heroin use among soldiers in Vietnam were complex and multifaceted. The stress of combat, the ever-present threat of death or injury, and the psychological toll of guerrilla warfare created an environment ripe for substance abuse. Furthermore, the widespread availability and low cost of heroin in Southeast Asia made it an easily accessible escape from the realities of war. The Vietnam War brought the issue of drug addiction among soldiers to the forefront of American consciousness. While previous conflicts had seen instances of substance abuse, the scale of the problem in Vietnam was unprecedented. This forced the military and the government to confront the issue head-on, leading to the development of new policies and programs aimed at prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation. The Vietnam War was the first televised war, beaming images of combat and its aftermath directly into American living rooms. This immediacy, while groundbreaking, also had a profound impact on public perception of the war and those who fought in it. The media, hungry for captivating narratives, often focused on the sensational, and drug use among soldiers became a recurring theme. News reports, often lacking context and nuance, presented a skewed picture of the situation in Vietnam. The focus on drug use, particularly heroin addiction, fueled a perception of widespread moral decay within the ranks. Stories of addicted soldiers, portrayed as victims of a corrupting war or as dangerous criminals, dominated headlines and shaped public opinion. This sensationalized coverage had far-reaching consequences. It contributed to the stigmatization of veterans, many of whom already struggled to reintegrate into civilian life. The image of the addicted veteran took root in the public consciousness, overshadowing the sacrifices and heroism of countless soldiers. This stereotype fueled discrimination, making it harder for veterans to find jobs, housing, and acceptance within their own communities. The media's portrayal of drug use during the Vietnam War highlights the power and responsibility of journalism in shaping public understanding of complex issues. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of sensationalism and the importance of nuanced, accurate reporting. For many veterans, the war did not end when they left the battlefields of Vietnam. They returned home carrying invisible scars, the psychological wounds of war compounded by the stigma of drug use. The myth of the addicted army, perpetuated by sensationalized media coverage, cast a long shadow over their homecoming. Veterans faced a society that often misunderstood or misrepresented their experiences. They encountered prejudice and discrimination, their service overshadowed by the perception of widespread drug addiction. Many struggled to find employment, their skills and experience discounted because of the stigma attached to their service. The psychological toll of war, compounded by the challenges of reintegration and the burden of societal prejudice, had a devastating impact on many veterans. Rates of PTSD, depression and substance abuse were alarmingly high. The support systems in place were often inadequate to meet the needs of this generation of veterans. The Vietnam War and its aftermath brought to light the enduring consequences of war, both visible and unseen. It forced a reckoning with the societal responsibility to support and care for those who served, to look beyond stereotypes and offer understanding and compassion. The legacy of the war, including the myths and realities of drug use, continues to shape our understanding of the veteran experience and the importance of providing adequate support and resources.